whatever, or you guys are doing some group work. But thank you everybody for coming. I do think Laura introduced me a little bit, and I'll give you a little more background. So my name is Molly Boyle, and I'm a universal design specialist, and what I do is I work with colleges all across the country who want to work with faculty to help them think about increasing accessibility, access for all students. It's a real pleasure to work with Delgado. We worked all last year, and I'm glad to know I think it's Mary Jo who came to one of the sessions. And it sounds like she's already implemented some of those things. So that's great news, because what I really hope is that things will be really simple and easy. I was a high school teacher, as well as a community college faculty member. I taught developmental English, not developmental math, but I and writing courses within there. So I'm going to use some of my own personal experiences with that, but also I can relate to what you guys are going through. And I tend to talk too fast because I get really excited about this topic. So please slow me down. Raise your hand. I only can see one person, so she may have to raise her hand for everybody. But the real question here is whether I can communicate with you guys. I guess we'll have to really come through Laura, because our technology is not that sophisticated right now. But that's great.
Molly, when we have a question, we'll just repeat it up here. I'll just repeat it.
Beautiful. All right. And feel free to interrupt me, please. So as Laura said, our focus today is going to be about the syllabus, but I'm going to do a teeny bit of background information. And from what I just heard with your introductions, it doesn't sound like everybody needs that. So I may go a little fast through that, and then make sure you have more time to actually do some hands-on work, because it sounds like we have a group here who's pretty sophisticated in this area. So the first question I ask is, what is universal design? And do you mind if I pick on people? And Jennifer, will you tell us what universal design meant in the developmental classes? And if you say it, then Laura can maybe repeat it. That would be great. I'm sorry, in your developmental class, or in K-12, I'm sorry.
K-12 is to be up to test.
So she's saying have the class accessible to students with learning disabilities.
With learning disabilities, and really what universal design is about is not just disabilities, because I also heard Cheryl talking about accessibility and all that, and that's all really important. But with universal design, we're really trying to reach all different kinds of learners. And the idea of universal design came out of architecture. Those of you who've heard me speak about this before, maybe some of these slides are going to look familiar. But the idea is that it is when people were building buildings and they had to bring them up to code, and they had to add something to them, they would often add a ramp. And where would the ramp be? Typically around back, right? So what the architects in North Carolina decided was, why can't we make this something aesthetically beautiful for everybody and functional for everybody? Because everybody can use a ramp, not just people with a wheelchair. People who have a bike might use a ramp. People who have a cane or a baby stroller or something like that. So all universal design is the notion of taking something that may be creating access for people with disabilities, but also making it accessible for everybody. So there's lots to learn in this area. I asked the question, what do we need to know? Sounds like some people have a taste of this. It can be about adding images to your work, but it also can be about a much deeper philosophical change. Is how do I reach all these diverse learners in my classes? And that's what I hope we can get at today. Not just adding an icon here or there, but really thinking about, will this help more learners? How will it help more learners? What does it mean to help more learners? And as I said, with my experience being at a community college, I know how diverse your student population is. The definition we use is to consider the needs of the broadest possible range of users from the beginning. There's a lot of changes and challenges with that sentence, because sometimes we don't know what our student population is going to be like. We don't even know what that range, where the beginning and the end of that range is. And the other thing that often happens in higher ed is we don't really have the opportunity to start at the beginning. We're often taking somebody else's syllabus, taking something we've worked with before, and redesigning it, refitting it. So we don't often have the opportunity to start from the beginning. It's really exciting. Sometimes I get to work with colleges who are building a new health center, a new building, and we can really start then at the beginning. But that's pretty rare in education in general and in higher higher ed specifically. But that's the goal. That's what we try to do with universal design.
Oh, sorry, Jeannie's coming. She wants to interject something.
Sure, go ahead, Jean.
Molly, can you hear me as I come closer? Molly?
I can.
Okay, something that resonated with me and just reminded me as you mentioned that we have the fortunate, I thought that was mine for a second there, sorry. We're really lucky in a way. We're moving LMSs. So we're going from Blackboard to Canvas. And in a way, it's a way for every instructor to have an opportunity to actually start again on rethinking, not necessarily on the content, but how they present the content. And that will roll forward this fall.
That's a great opportunity. As soon as when changes like that sometimes feel frustrating, but sometimes I actually think that's the best way to really actually make change, if you know what I mean. But that's great to hear, Jean. Thank you.